Okay, so this is your chance to be on Meet the Press, amateur edition.
Yes, I'm
But
happy
so
to be here, Chuck.
I thought of a thank you. That's a great compliment. Call me Chuck Ton. I hope that nickname spreads everybody.
I hope you'll return the favor.
Oh yes, okay, Chuck Todd. You finally get to be on the receiving end of a question. I just saw this crazy question to ask her. She's never gonna have thought that this question could be asked. Okay, so we keep hearing about this supposed caravan of immigrants coming here. So where would they just establish a baseline for this? Where would they be crossing the border? Is that California or Texas or Arizona or?
Yeah, I mean it's all of those places they could, but I don't know.
That's true. I guess we don't know. It's just now they're going into Mexico.
As a big group, so
we don't really know.
But they haven't even got into Mexico yet,
right?
From what I understand.
But from what I hear, they're kind of like breaking down the barriers and all that. Okay, so let's say that they decide to all, as 5,000 of them, they show up at the gates of San Diego, where you now live.
Let's take one in. Let's take some refugees in.
Oh no.
We got a big enough one bedroom. So what was your question, sir?
Woo! Not quite. Wow. I was expecting this question to be a little bit more of a fastball, not so much you're getting out ahead of it. Goodness gracious.
Listen, I hit home runs.
So, like, let's say there's 5,000 of them. They're showing up. They seem like they are not going to, like, stand in line at the border in an orderly fashion. They seem more like they're going to just pour over. You know, and they could end up right here.
I mean, they would walk over.
Yes.
Right?
They'd walk over like human beings, not pour over like some sort of insect or group of rodents.
Yeah,
that's true.
Like a natural disaster or something.
Or a natural disaster. That's true. Like a tsunami of
but they would be
humanity.
Yeah.
We don't want to call them a tsunami of humanity.
No,
we want to call them 5,000 individuals with each unique life stories and backgrounds.
That's right. I accept
and
that
perspectives.
Definition.
Okay. So in this scenario, like, do you support Donald Trump putting like the United States, some military on the border right down here in Southern California to keep them from just like migrating in a dignified fashion, but in unlawful as it may be across the border? And might be just adding to the number of people. Like, we already have some homeless people right here in our neighborhood. It could maybe add to that significantly onto what we already have. Would you just say go let them mass over the border, or would you support like Donald Trump putting military presence to say no, they're not? If they want to come in, they're gonna have to line up and claim status one at a time.
Well, this is a complicated issue because there's like a lot of different facets here, but assuming they're let through the Mexican border, they're going to get to our border, and they're not like, we don't need Trump to call in the army. We have one of the biggest Navy military bases right in San Diego, so they could get the California National Guard. Like, there's plenty of people and probably local law enforcement from surrounding communities to help maintain what's going to potentially happen. But honestly, if they make it across Mexico, I do think that, we would have to try to help deal with the situation. As a global community members, like, we're part of the UN, like, we are responsible to help in times of crisis, and this is a time of crisis, and we could reach out. This wouldn't be all the people just living in San Diego because they got here. Right. Like, our court system,
unless
legal, they'll get legal professionals will come and try to help them and get them set up.
How would you do that without an army presence? So you're saying to do this, you would be willing to take the military we have right here on a base and say, we're going to actually just shift you right over to the border and say those 5,000 people, they can come in, but they got to come in orderly so that we can control them, as you say, in terms of where they go. They don't just get to all go to North
Yeah,
Park
and they
set up shop.
don't.
They get to.
They also don't
We're gonna
need
get to tell them,
any.
well, you know, a dozen of you go to this city, a dozen of you go to this city, or whatever.
Yeah, programs that can accept a number into the organizations all throughout the country. They can accept maybe 20 refugees, and if there's like hundreds and hundreds of places that offer this service, they could house and feed. Even churches, you know, religious groups do this. They accept refugees that need help, and they're all across the whole country. So you would, as they came through our system and either got asylum legally or potentially, you know, some kind of temporary refugee status until their court cases were determined, like they would live here in these different places that help refugees, even in the temporary process when they don't have status yet. You know, those have existed all the time. So as they come through, yes, I would support the correct amount of like military or law enforcement professionals that have been trained to deal with crowds of this size, because that's really what it is. It's a crowd of 15 or of maybe around 5,000 people. And they, you know, law enforcement, police, they deal with concerts that are 10 times that big. Like, this isn't an impossible thing to keep orderly, but such large numbers would be dangerous to ports of entry because they couldn't possibly service all the people that came at that time. So it will be chaotic. So yes, you need extra professional people down there, but not just military. Also, human rights workers. They should call in attorneys, lawyers for immigration specialists. They should call all these people in, knowing that they're about to need a lot of services, because like that's the only humane thing to do, is to get prepared to either allow them to try to get asylum, handle their cases, and then send them through the legal process, and whatever happens next, deportation most likely, if their case doesn't go through.
That makes sense. I have a follow-up on the question. If they come across, so it sounds like you're saying, just to establish, you're saying that you could imagine deploying some sort of military presence, but your difference would be that you would not be there to just shut them out. You would be there to usher them in, you know, in a controlled
without
fashion.
any danger to our community and their lives.
Right, that makes sense. So I guess my real follow-up question is, how would you respond to like what Newt Gingrich said on Fox News today, that he was saying that they did a poll and it was like, you know, supposedly, let's say the poll was legit, that it was like something like 150 million people in South America who would be interested in migrating here. So if you take that 5,000, where do you draw the line between that 5,000 and 150 million? So we have like 300 million people here right now, so we would be adding another 50% of people who don't necessarily speak our language. Like, where do we draw the line? Is it 5,000? Is it a million? Is it 150 million?
Just because you accept into legal ports of entry,
right?
People who want to apply for asylum or, you know, get some refugee status or political, you know, someone's going to kill them for political reasons. Like, you can get status that's legal here, but you don't just come and get status immediately. You have to go through the court system with it. And they may turn away, you know, like 4,500 cases, you know, and say like, nope, you didn't meet the criteria. Or they could turn them all away and say you all didn't meet. But they have to go through our court system legally to figure out if they can be accepted as asylum seeker. And that's something we have built into our, you know, immigration process, but it's not necessarily about immigration. It's about human rights and safety. And if a person is certainly going to be murdered if they return to their country, we have to have a way to save them. If they want to be safe, if, you know, they want to reach out.
Refugee status. So you're saying don't conflate refugee status with immigration status.
Yeah.
Immigrants and refugees are They are there's so much overlap between them, but
they're not immigrating.
separate ideas.
Yeah, they're not
Although
just
one
moving
can be the
here.
other, and the other can be the one.
And it's hard to tell what is the truth, because a lot of people do lie, and they would lie for a better life if they could. But a lot of people are also telling the truth, and we know that because we have, reporting, and we have intelligence in those countries that they're coming from, and they know it's true. They know people are being murdered. They know gang violence is killing more people than, this time last year, or whatever the facts are. Like, they actually know that it's true. And so when people come to the border and they say, I'm from this town and this is what's happening, and I was, my husband was murdered there, we actually have our intelligence people that have been in that country and probably know where that town is and understand, the gang violence situation, to tell our people making decisions that this is probably valid and you should give her asylum, as opposed to she makes up some country or city name and doesn't know anything about it. There's ways to tell people lying.
Settle down in Mexico, where they share a language.
Well, I mean, if
would Mexico be like really alarmed, just have a town of 5,000 just spring up out of nowhere?
What would you say if these refugees weren't heading to the United States? They were actually all heading to Canada. That's where they all wanted to go. All you got to do is open your doors and let them walk completely through. And then they're at Canada. And now that's Canada's problem.
As long as Canada will take them.
But you don't know if Canada will take them. In fact, Canada is telling you they will not take them.
It's tough because I don't know the answer.
Because that's the situation Mexico's in. They're like, okay, and it's also telling you that your country sucks a little bit more than this other country. And the fact is, Mexico does have bigger stability problems right now.
Yeah. With
corruption, police, drug trafficking. I mean, that's always been, for as long as, I'm not very old, but for as long as I've known about Mexico, it's just been more dangerous. And if you came from a country that was very dangerous, maybe, if you're willing to walk across the planet, you'll go to a life where it's not dangerous, within reason, to live in the United States. But Mexico, it's still dangerous.
Yeah.
And it's still the same problem that they're running from. They want to get away from the problems of corruption in their government and the fact that the police are just, paid off by the drug cartels and stuff. It's like, the reason they're coming here is a compliment to us. And we're telling them that they're, a natural disaster about to happen to us. They're saying we like what you're doing and we want to live in that. But nowhere that they're walking through is that. So they have to keep walking. But the thing is, these people who want a shot at that, they should be given a shot. And by what that means is just what our freaking immigration system, our refugee system is set up for. The UN has a refugee, a section on refugees and how they're to be handled, and that every country has to say that they'll accept some number of refugees. And so then when refugees come, it's decided in courts where they'll go at whatever port of entry is in whatever country. It's decided, we have 3 openings here in Canada right now. We have 3 openings in Japan you can go to. Everybody that's a first world nation that you can live relatively safely from, cops just shooting you without any, without any justice, or drug traffickers just bribing the entire town and everyone in it. If it's a certain level of first world nation status, like your game, 10 happiness points.
Yeah.
If it has a certain level of status, those people who are running from third world countries, or however developing countries, those people have have an access to go to first world nations.
Yeah. I just wish that they, the thing is, they have, I wonder if Mexico could see them as people who have something to offer easier than we could. If Mexico could see them as people who are ready to work and to settle down and to be part of their culture and all that, whereas the Americans are like,
we should feel that way about them too, though. We should feel that way. They are valuable, and they are just looking for a place to settle down and help their economy. They do anything
maybe we should,
for it.
but like their education levels might be more in line with education levels in Mexico, and so like they're ready to integrate better into their workforce that demands similar levels of education and stuff like that.
Right.
But Mexico, I understand what you say. It's like Mexico doesn't have extra to give, and they're looking for.
They're not super stable
they want to
right
keep.
now.
They're already on the move. They might as well keep moving until they reach what they think is paradise. But I just wish they could see maybe Mexico is actually in need of more. I mean, our unemployment level is low too, so really we probably could use more labor, but
we could always use more, good, hardworking immigrants. Like how most of our parents and, grandparents and wherever our history goes, like the people that came to this country were immigrating to make a better life and to make more money, have a shot at, actually developing a happy life that you could be proud of.
What's to keep, what I've never understood about American history is like, what's to keep us from telling countries that are far away, like Hawaii or Alaska's far away, and just saying, if you'll vote to join us, you could just join us and we will impose order on your country and you'll become a state. And we'll
fund
give
you,
we'll fund
us.
Education, a certain level of education.
We'll come in and build roads for you.
Yeah,
we'll provide you with like good training for cops.
Some healthcare.
Corruption aversion. Yeah. I don't understand why we aren't constantly advocating to add more states to our federal union. It'll make us more powerful. But there's always the question, will they vote for the Democrat or will they vote for the Republican?
Of course.
I mean, they had trouble with this even when they were adding new states.
They have to wait 50 years before their votes count. But they will count.
I don't know how you can add new states. I don't know how that process goes, but I really, really, really wish that it was like a primary driver of our country. But, the more you add new types of people and new cultures, the possibility of them changing your country, before they entered is like, oh, we don't want that. I think that's why a lot of people aren't down with Puerto Rico coming in. They don't want. Yeah, there's a lot of people who don't want, Puerto Rico to be a state. And I've
never seen a poll on that.
Well, they'll probably vote Democrat, so that it's not. And Democrats will change the world in a way that they didn't want.
I mean, Puerto Rico is already owned by us. We should at least allow them to become a state if they want to be a state.
Yeah, I think it should be like a major policy for another presidential candidate to advocate adding more states, because that builds peace, security, really great allies, because now they're you. All their resources in their countries are now going to be our collective resources. We'll provide things to them. They'll provide things to us. We can visit there. They can visit here. Trading is so much easier. Defense against their neighbors that might be aggressive now just evaporated, But part of the thing is, can you really get, in Mexico, you can't just make Mexico a state because there are already a bunch of states in Mexico. I'm not sure if that's what they call them, and even in Canada, there's a whole bunch of little communities. Yeah. Could you just convince a part of Mexico to become a state?
If Mexico let them go, they might be willing.
They probably wouldn't let them go. Why would they? You probably wouldn't let them go because they are benefiting you right now. And if you don't want to lose the money coming in for taxes and all that stuff, and that's a big hit. And then other states might leave too, and then you're not even a country. But the thing is, part of your country will now live forever in stability. the more people that join the United States, the more stable they'll become as a community.
It's just interesting because I feel like the Soviet Union, like we did have a Cold War where like the Soviet Union and the United States were both trying to sort of expand voluntarily, somewhat, but then at other times it was not so voluntarily. It would be nice if eventually that did happen, is you had a country that was expanding voluntarily.
That's how they do it in Star Trek.
It's true. In Star Trek,
that's the whole. They're such a powerful, military force.
Confederation or whatever.
Or an explorer force. They're such a powerful civilization because they're constantly making more people on planets come into them, and all their knowledge and all their history, everything about their culture that can benefit the Federation is now injected. Every time a planet joins, they're injected with a boost of a ton more history, knowledge, and resource opportunities for research, for medical cures, for all sorts of stuff, because that planet had never been,
So, do you want to, before we move on and watch our own show here, instead of being a show, do you want to tell me why it's a terrible idea for us to say, go ahead and tell 5,000 people that, we want to give them a bunch of fancy walkie-talkies and train them to be sort of a coordinated police / paramilitary force that can go back and try to get order to where they came from? Like, that's just a terrible idea that spawns a terrorist organization, right? Or
they could, but these caravans are women and children. I mean, like, that's the majority of what they are, because
they use a walkie-talkie and a gun.
Well, yeah, but they're a mother and a child.
That's true.
Like, that would be the moms. I mean, the moms could be like, here you go, drop off my kid to daycare, arm up, go to boot camp, and then come in. But, like,
you're right, it's just not practical.
Part of the reason that they came all this way is, well, it's not that it's not practical.
I was imagining a bunch of men, I guess, more. Grown men and women. I wasn't imagining all the kids involved.
Yeah, I really feel like that's the primary driver of these caravans. It's just the maternal desire to protect their children is driving thousands of women across the world, is just because they have a maternal desire to protect their kid.
Well, I think we might be experiencing a video error here.
Aww. It logged out for non-use? No.
What's going on? I think we might be done on the video here.